Hey everyone, I'm Will.
And I'm Caleb.
Welcome to the Retrek Review Podcast, a podcast where we talk about every single episode of Star Trek chronologically. But here's the best part. Caleb hasn't seen a single episode.
What is Star Trek? Is it like Star Wars? I've seen Star Wars.
So don't click off this video, because if you do, you won't see Caleb's unique view of what the episode we're about to watch is.
I hated it.
You heard it here. Computer, begin program.
Increase to full power!
Gives me the creeps. I feel like something's watching us.
Savick, you go right on quoting regulations.
Hello, computer.
I knew I would.
You betrayed your uniform!
Target their cargo hold. Time to take out the garbage.
Smooth as an android's bottom, eh, Data?
I beg your pardon, sir.
Inspires to be better than I
Come on, you'll be fine.
am. 5 years in space. God help me.
This is the best day of my life!
A phaser? You didn't use it?
Swords are fun.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Welcome back to another Retrek Review, where each week we talk about Star Trek, and this week we're talking about Episode 8 of Season 1 of Star Trek The Next Generation. That episode is entitled Justice. It originally aired November 9th, 1987. It was a teleplay by Worley Thorne and a story by Ralph Willis and Worley Thorne. It was directed by James L. Conway. The synopsis for Justice is when Wesley Crusher is condemned to die on an idyllic, primitive planet, Captain Picard must face breaking the Prime Directive to save the boy's life. Also, here are some guest appearances. We had Brenda Bake as Revan, Jay Loudon as Leotor, Josh Clark as a con officer, David Q. Combs as First Mediator, Richard Lavin as Second Mediator, Judith Jones as Edo Girl, Eric Matthew as First Edo Boy, David Michael Graves as Second Edo Boy, and Brad Zerps as Medical Technician. So that was the introduction to the episode, but before we move on, let's go over to Caleb and ask Caleb what he thought of the episode.
It's not a terrible episode. I didn't hate it. The way it started, I was like, wow, this is pretty great. But it got better, and then it kind of, it actually leaves you with a pretty good, question dilemma, which is classic Star Trek, I thought.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things in the beginning that's very, very over the top.
Yes.
So we always talk about, it's like Star Trek gets a bad rap sometimes for being very sexist. And then now in this era, now that you're in the 80s, right? You can just tell they were trying to push the boundaries of what they could put on TV at the time, and also be like, well, these aliens, they don't have problems with this kind of stuff that we do. And it's okay, that's good, but
yeah.
I don't know. But overall, the episode is fine. I kind of like the main issue that they run into. Is an interesting dilemma, I thought.
Yeah.
And the characters are all pretty good this episode.
Not too bad.
No, I mean, the two that we always talk about, always being these like sex symbols of the episode. Of course, they were just love the idea of this planet, you know?
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah. We'll get into it.
You would think a woman trying to escape from rape gangs constantly on her colony world would not really be too excited to have anything
No.
to do with
N-
sex.
no. Mm-mm. Especially this planet when like everybody comes up to you and they're like, "Hey, do you want to like do it?" I'm like right now, and you're like, "No." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like, all right, well, let's just proceed to the main area where we do like council and government stuff, and then you go in there and it's just a freaking
Yeah.
orgy fest. It's like, oh my, okay. I get it. I get that this society is not ashamed by like sexual activities and stuff. That's fine. I get that. And then they introduce like the teenager and like she clearly doesn't like
Yeah.
have a bra on. It's like, dude. And they always do that thing where they try to make it like funny by like having Wesley be involved in stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm a virgin." And they're like, "Oh, no, we want you to play like football." And he's like, "Oh, okay. I thought we were all gonna have sex."
This definitely doesn't have any problems. Looking at it through the lens of 2024, no problems
No.
whatsoever. Well, what would you say the rating
Oh,
is?
yeah, the rating. You know what? I'm gonna give it a Roddenberry.
Wow, you're gonna give it just a Roddenberry right down the middle.
Yeah,
I like it. I can get behind that.
yeah, because it's not worse than that, and it's not better than that.
That's fair. Well, we also had some comments from our last two episodes. Sahir 18 said that he always liked the episode where no one has gone before, and that everything about the traveler piqued his curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
We had a comment from Technicat. They commented, just discovered your channel and I absolutely love it. Keep it up.
Nice.
On another note, this has always been one of my favorite episodes. They're talking about where no one has gone before,
Yeah.
of the first Next Generation season. I think it's a great concept and was executed very well. And on our Lonely Among Us podcast, EdStar 2185 says, one of the ideas from critics' reviews of Star Trek that fascinates me is sci-fi fans don't like sci-fi. What fans really want is action adventure, mystery thriller, romance, romantic comedy, horror, all presented with a thin coating of sci-fi. Studios and broadcast networks know that sci-fi must be combined with an additional genre, especially to attract sponsors to pay for everything. And he goes on to say the Klingons
Mm.
were stand-ins for communist slash bad guys due to pushbacks from the 1960s NBC, and Roddenberry was pressured to comply. Next Generation was a chance to start fresh with a new outlook. So I believe he's commenting on the rules that Roddenberry put in place. Like,
Right.
yeah.
I saw that comment the other day. How do you feel about that? How do you feel that, like, as a sci-fi fan, like a lot of things are blended with other stuff?
I I have like a mixed bag with it because almost everything is like that. Like
Yeah.
there's very few things that are just purely blank. Like
Yeah.
a comedy, it's like, well, there's very little comedies that are just comedies by themselves and don't have any mystery or thriller or romance or something in it. It's like they're a mix of something.
Yeah.
And I think that's just because once you have like all of the great movies and TV shows like made, you have to make like variants of it and you just kind of get stuck in a loop, I think.
Yeah. I agree with that. I'm not saying that guy's wrong.
No,
I
no, I
thought
know
it
what you
was
mean.
I thought
Yeah.
it was interesting because it was like what would a true sci-fi be just like people in space pushing buttons on a console. It's like you need drama and you need a plot and you need, even
Yeah.
like romance and interest in space. It's you want human interactions of things in like a sci-fi setting for it to be like a sci-fi. Like I want to like for me, what I enjoy about sci-fi is I like everyday like mundane human activities,
Right.
but the subject material is like space or
Hmm.
space travel or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So without like normal human interactions and stuff, and like he's saying, like action and that kind of stuff, like what I don't know.
I think his point is that like they write episodes in the premise of action, adventure, romance, comedy, right? And
Yeah.
then they paint it like, well, basically, could you take these characters and take away the Enterprise and tricorders and phasers and everything, and now they're in, now it's a Miami Vice episode or a MASH episode. Like, does this still work in a
Mm,
different television show? And if it does, then it's like, well, this doesn't make Star Trek like that different.
like unique or sci-fi.
Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think what he's saying is kind of like what you talk about. It's like a lot of the alien creations are just people in makeup. Like, right, the Edo, for example, in this episode are just people in with like not a lot of clothes on. They're just
Well,
human,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like, but instead you could make them lizard people. You could make them also weird energy beings. You could make them slugs. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what they are.
And so that's where it's not as science fiction as it could be science fiction.
Yeah, that I agree with. That I agree with for sure.
And I think that is part of his point is like they write the episode like it's a thriller that Wesley's going to get killed because he violated the law. Okay, great, but like nothing else is really that science fictiony except for the thing in orbit.
Right.
Everything on the planet is very like, I mean, you could literally
Yeah,
replace it with like any TV show.
you could swap that planet with anything and it
Right.
wouldn't be any different story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I agree. That I've always said that about Star Trek is that it's you know, like wow, these aliens have never seen humans before. They're going to be very surprised, and it's like they're all just the same like shape
Yeah.
with different ears, and it's like wow.
They comment on it in this episode that like they look just like us. Like, oh, it's great. It's
Yes.
gonna be great to be on shore leave because they look just like us.
So did the other five societies you went to, like.
Right. Right.
But again, for me, I guess we'll get into it when we talk about the episode, but it's just like it's just another Star Trek episode where they bring up the topic of like God.
Oh, yes.
And it's like it's
Yes.
all Roddenberry cared about was like, you know, is
Oh, yeah.
is there really a God? Is God real? That's
Yeah.
like every episode of Star Trek.
This we can just talk about it now because we're not really gonna go at length with it because I didn't show the episode to you. But there's an episode of TOS literally called The Apple,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's pretty much this concept.
Is there a God? Yeah, and one of the movies is about God, finding God.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we get it, Roddenberry.
They have literally a stone snake in like a garden, and there's these like really peaceful people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. But for the time period of like TOS, like what else was sci-fi at the time? Like
Right.
not really anything.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
don't know.
There's like Buck Rogers and Lost in
Doctor
Space,
Who, Doctor Who was
Doctor
around this
Who.
time.
Right.
So like that was your sci-fi stuff, and it was just like, hey, so this is like a Western, but it's in space, and that was your big thing. And so everything is based off of
Yeah.
that.
And now we've had in the late 80s, you've had so many sci-fi things come out. Like what is the potential of science fiction?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Because
at this point, you've had the full Star Wars trilogy.
yeah, right. Yeah. It kind of redefines sci-fi.
Right.
The other thing you could argue too is like what is sci-fi? Because, um like Marvel and even like Avengers.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's science fiction. It's not
Right.
real. They time travel. They have,
Hmm.
different dimensions and stuff. So like technically
Right. Right. Right.
that's science fiction.
Right.
So it's like what are the categories,
Basically, using science to make something fake. Basically.
It's like fake science technobabble.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, so I just thought that was an interesting comment. It really made me think about, because I read his comment, I was like, oh yeah, that's it. That's an interesting point. And then I was like, but yeah, but what is a sci-fi? What makes something science fiction without
Any of
like
those. Yeah.
action, drama, emotions? Like what would it be? Yeah, it was an interesting thing to
Yeah.
ponder or intriguing.
Fascinating. Yeah, we also had two new subscribers. One was Clemson Jack 1, and the other was Charles Pettis.
Nice.
So thanks for subscribing, guys. We appreciate it. And with that, it's time to get into the review. Before the intro started, I wrote down, oh, there's no negatives found in the society? That can't be a when Riker comes up and he's like, and Picard's like, "Oh, is there anything bad about the planet?" And he's like, "Absolutely not." I'm like, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah, right.
I also thought it was a really weak reason for Wesley to go down to the planet. He was like, "Oh,
Oh.
we're gonna have shore leave. That's
Mhm.
gonna be great. We know, Doctor, that you've recommended it." And then he's like, "And you, Wesley, you will go down because we want to know if children will enjoy it." It's like, what? What? Like, children
It's such
will
a
hate being outside and having fun and doing nice things.
Well, the doctor even like says that she recommends that everyone should go off the ship, and she's like, and the children will love it.
Right.
And they're like, well, send your own son. I don't care. Send him down there. See if he can survive. I don't care.
I don't care.
There's a lot of things in this episode that happen in a way where you're like, well, obviously that had to happen for the plot.
Correct. But I mean, here's the thing. So we come back from the intro and they get down there and they're immediately met by those two. And like, whatever. I get what they're doing. They're doing the quote unquote fig leaf on the naked
Hmm.
people thing. I get what they're doing,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's like, okay. But to me, the most like egregious thing about it was they immediately are interacted with these two, whatever their names are, Reven and
Yeah.
the guy's name I can't remember. Was it Leotor? Or anyway,
Ruby and Tubi Fruby.
yeah, and they clearly had even more like I don't know, like more passionate interactions with them on the first go because they were like, "Huh,
Yeah.
yes,
Oh,
Asha."
you ready to go again?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very much. It was, yeah.
Which
Hmm.
again,
Hmm.
gotta have a Tasha sex reference, otherwise
Oh
it's
yeah, she
an
loves it.
episode.
She loves it.
But the thing that was egregious was if you are beaming down to such a forward, sex obsessed culture,
Uh-huh.
why are you letting a child go down to it? He's not like 18 or even
No,
17. He's like
no.
14 or 15 years old.
Yeah. And then they like let him speak for himself.
Yes, yes.
And instead of just being like, hey, so like our customs, are they should have already known.
Right.
Riker should have already said like, hey, we have kids on board. Our customs are this, age limit. I don't
Right.
know. Maybe Star Trek in the future doesn't have age restrictions on
I
stuff
don't know.
because
I don't know.
they got rid of that along with executions. I don't know. But
I don't know. I know it's like a little cancel culture in a way, like having the eyesight of that, but at the same time, it's just like They even comment on it in the episodes that you can go play catch with the kids. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he's like, I'll do whatever you want me to do for your culture. And she's like, oh, okay. And then kind of doesn't really want to hug him. And he's just like, yay. And I'm like,
Yeah, it's weird.
why,
It's weird.
why,
It's weird.
why?
And then they even try to make it so like Worf is like enjoying it too, and it's like, okay,
Yeah, nice planet.
nice planet. I mean, he has some pretty great lines later on where he's talking about
Yeah,
why Klingons don't, with humans, and I was like, that's pretty funny. But
yeah.
it's just like, why don't we don't need any of this information?
No.
So the other funny thing about this that comes up later is Wesley says, like, hey, Commander Riker, can I go?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh yeah, of course, you can go run around, play with these kids, He's like,
Yeah,
okay, cool. So he leaves. And then later on, when the stuff hits the fan,
yeah.
Riker says, oh, we gotta find Wesley. He ran off. You let okay. He says it in a way where it's like, oh yeah, he didn't stay put. He just took off and he just ran off.
Riker thought he was just going to run over to the field behind where they were standing.
What are you talking about, dude? If you weren't so obsessed walking around watching everybody make out and stuff, maybe you could have kept better track of your crew.
Yeah.
Riker walks around this planet like Kirk on the bridge with the tribbles.
Yes.
He's just walking around. He's just like,
Yeah, nice.
nice. It's like, oh my god. Oh,
Uh,
Riker.
the thing I also thought was really funny was, I guess we're not there yet, but later in the episode, they come to realize that they punish people with death, right?
Yeah.
And the thing
Death by snoo snoo.
yeah. The thing that made me like, what was okay, so they beam down on the planet and they clearly, because they indicate that they do, talk to these people about punishment and crime and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, no crime. And they likely were like, what do you mean, no crime? That how? And then they're just the person that they were talking to, or the group of people that they were talking to, just went, I don't know. It didn't explain the white fence thing, the mediators, the god creature in orbit, like nothing. They just were literally like, no, nothing ever happens. And you're just like, what?
It's such a weak thing.
It really is.
Because even Picard is like, well, I thought you already knew their customs. And she's like, well, they didn't say anything about murdering people that crossed the border. It's like, okay.
Like, yeah, what did you actually ask them then? So before we get all to all that, I thought that the running bit was really weird.
Oh my God. Yeah. It is so stupid.
It was like, well, one in Rome.
When in where, sir? Yeah, it was really stupid. And he's like, they're like, shall we run? And he's like, well, that is your custom. And they're like, all right. And then they run, and it was just like, wow, this is really dumb.
Yeah,
it was really dumb. But it plays into the the early thing where they're like, wow, they're all very much in shape.
Yes.
But well, yeah, because they run everywhere apparently. We gotta run because we gotta do it. There's no time.
The mediators will find us. We must escape from wherever we violated its law.
If the mediators see us not kissing, they'll kill us.
That would be
That
would have been a better modern Star Trek where they're like, oh, blah blah blah, and then when Tasha's sitting there drinking, they're like, if we don't stop having sex and kissing,
they'll kill us.
God
will smite us to ashes.
Yeah, and then the slow zoom into her face of like,
I'm home.
But to give it a plus, in the area. I did enjoy when they're in orbit and they're looking at like you can see the edge of the planet on the viewer. And Picard's like, well, center the viewer on the thing that you're reading, and then
Yeah.
it pans over, and I actually really enjoyed that because it felt like the ship was actually moving or the camera was, whatever. I was like, that's actually kind of cool.
Thought that was good. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I also like how Data senses that thing in orbit, and
Oh
Picard's
yeah.
like, I don't see anything. And Data's like, he just immediately opens up comms and he's like, hey, so make yourself known. Like we sense you. And then it does. And so like Data just kind of took it upon himself to just be like, no, there's something there. Which I kind of liked it.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, he's protecting the Enterprise.
Yeah. Somebody doing their job for a change.
Couldn't have Data down on the planet otherwise.
Nope. God couldn't have talked to him on the planet.
That's right. So we come back from commercial, and I thought, of course, a tiny bubble is ridiculously powerful.
Yeah. Other floating bubble on the Enterprise going around doing stuff. Haven't seen anything like that before.
Nope. Very new, very
Yeah. What a crazy concept.
the other thing that made me laugh was they have no idea what the bubble thing is. They don't know what its intentions are, but yeah, you can connect with the android.
They're going to tell you something. You must listen to them.
Yeah, back on the planet, I thought it was interesting that Deanna wasn't overwhelmed with all the quote unquote open minds. I thought
No, she loves it.
She loves it.
Loves it. I know we always talk about Deanna, but it's like so many episodes she is just
Yeah, I know.
useless.
I know.
You have episodes where it's like stuff is really going on the ship, and she's like, I don't know. This one, it's
Yeah.
like you always say, she's Galaxy Quest,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I forget what she says in this episode, but it's very like, a blind man
Oh,
seen
oh,
it.
yes, yes, yes.
I think it was in the council room because they were like, hey, so we lost comms with the ship. And she's like, well, it's not anything that these people are doing.
Hmm.
These people, they very happy and euphoric. You're like, yeah, I got it.
So surprisingly, I actually really did like the breakdown of the mediators scene. Like, it
Yeah,
actually felt like an alien people who didn't understand, like, that they didn't understand, basically. Like, well, like, it's not going to be a problem. Like, you just don't go inside the white fence.
yeah, right.
And they're like, well, that means you're going to kill them. It's like, yeah, but nobody does that. Like,
I I also thought Wesley was very like
yeah,
just lackadaisical about like destroying this
yeah,
planter with all these plants. It's not a huge deal because it's not like he accidentally killed somebody, but he was so like, oh, no big deal, whatever, who cares?
yeah. That's like
Like,
when they come
dude,
back from commercial after learning that it means death, and they literally cut to him playing with the kids, and it's like, okay, and you see it coming, and they're all like, Wesley, don't do it. Don't. No. They're screaming at him, and he just keeps running. And then what's he do? He doesn't trip over the
he jumps
fence.
over.
He literally like launches and dives himself into like the greenhouse thing.
Yeah, to catch the football, and it's
Like
like,
elbow drop all the flowers. And it's like it's so much more like he deserves the punishment because he was like an obnoxious kid
yeah,
about it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
If he's so Starfleet, as he says later in the episode, wouldn't you think
yeah.
when the kids are screaming at him, he would be like, "What?" and just let the ball fall, maybe hit the greenhouse kind of thing? Like, oops.
I don't know.
It's just
It was a little ridiculous. I thought.
to me, it would have been interesting to have the kids go over close to the fence, and they're like, they were playing ball, like the ball gets close to the fence, he goes over there, and then he's like, "Oh, what's this?" And then they're like, "This is a forbidden zone because there are new plants growing here." And he's like, "Oh, that's interesting." I didn't realize you guys had that type of like law system. And it's like, yeah. And then have the girl be a little forward with him or something, or he trips. I don't know. And then he
Yeah.
accidentally falls into it.
It sounds like the pure act of going over the barrier itself is what is illegal too, you know?
Yes, it does sound
So
like
it's
that.
really not even like he crashes into the flowers. It's like he went over the fence, the
Yeah.
forbidden fence thing.
Yeah, like the protected area. Yeah.
But they keep like saying like, "Oh no," you know, and he's like, "The thing's broken." And he's like, "Hey, don't worry about it. I'm fine." It's like, idiot. You just destroyed property. Like, even if it wasn't like punishable by death, like you destroyed property and you're like, I'm fine. I didn't even get like bruised or anything. Like,
Look at this.
you don't need to worry about it. Like, hey, moron. They don't really care.
And if he was like a normal run of the mill kid, it would be like, whatever, he's a dumb kid. But they're like,
But he's supposed to be some,
right,
boy genius,
right, exactly.
which I guess in all actuality, that actually makes me believe that he is stupid about like normal things, you know?
Yeah, I guess. It's
I
like a,
just like that those two guys come running over like immediately.
yeah.
Like, hey, did you just hear somebody break sacred flowers? He's like, I think I did. Let's run.
It is our tradition.
We shall run to the scene.
Then the other
Let's
thing,
stop, don't move. We're mediators. Like,
the thing that made me laugh too was like they ask a lot of things that make you think that like these people have in the past like gotten out of crime because they're
yeah.
like, well, did you see what happened? And they're like, yes. And like, we have someone who saw it.
He's like,
And then he's like, I did fall into it. He's like,
so you openly admit it.
It
Yeah.
was just like,
Oh.
if they're such a crime-free society, wouldn't you think they would be like,
Mhm.
I don't know, this is the first time this has happened in decades or millennia or whatever. We have to
No.
consult the council room to see what the law books say they are. I don't know. It just was, yeah.
No, they were pretty gung ho immediately about what to do.
It was just a thing for
And
me
then they carry around that vial of poison all the time,
all the time. No worries.
just like McCoy.
Yeah, just got to keep it on there. That was one of the funny parts was I think it was Tasha. She sees the needle, she picks
Yeah.
up the needle, and
Oh
then
my
tells
God.
Riker
Oh my God.
it's a
Hey,
needle.
this is a needle with poison in it.
Oh,
And then one of those guys from that other episode, he's in the background. He's like, "It's poison."
no, yeah, yes. I did think it was funny though that kind of Worf takes the lead despite Yar being the chief
Yeah.
security officer. Because when they pull the phasers out on the guys, he's like, "Don't move."
Drop it.
Yeah.
Well, she was still distracted by
Oh, that's true.
sex.
She was like, "There's still a possibility. I haven't had
She's
sex
like,
with a mediator yet."
wow.
Well, to give it another plus, when they cut back to the bridge, which was cool with the little bubble attached to Data's like head, when Beverly takes like some sort of engineering or medical tool to Data, the way they have it filmed, Brent Spiner's brow is like blocking it. So she pokes like his face with this tool, but I think it's meant to be like his eyes.
Well,
And it actually looks like really good. It looks like she's actually like taking this like sharp, pointy object and like doing something to his eyes. And I was like, that's kind of cool. Don't know what she's doing to him, but it looked cool.
right. No, I enjoy that whole interaction with Data.
You know what's funny is I think you and I can probably agree that the ship stuff is good and all planet stuff so far has been kind of bad. Like in most of the episodes we've watched.
Yeah.
Like anything that takes place on the Enterprise is like, oh yeah, I can get behind this. And then like anything off the Enterprise is like, oh, I don't know. No.
Yeah.
Because I think about like Lutan in Code of Honor being on the Enterprise. Like they were weird, but it was fine. Like the holodeck scene is not great, but overall it's fine. like them talking to the Ferengi in the last outpost is like fine, but then once they get on the planet, it's like okay. And the same with Code of Honor with Lutan. Like
Yeah.
they had to fight with the poison hand, and now this.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that for sure.
I think what it is, which it's probably from all the rewrites, is the original writers write all the interesting stuff and that's what stays for the Enterprise. And then when they go to do off-world stuff, that's all the rewrites, and it's like, well, it has to be. Let's make it as close to TOS as possible. But remember, it's TNG, so it's not the same, but it's the same.
I think what it is too is that TOS takes place on the Enterprise mostly.
Yes.
Like they go off the ship, pretty
Yeah.
regularly, but they go planet side and stuff, but most of the stuff happens on the ship. They figure out stuff on the ship.
Yeah.
So in this show, it's like the opposite. They try to spend a lot of time on these different planets all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like we just enjoy when they're on the ship doing stuff because that's kind of what
Yeah.
you like about the show is that they're on the ship doing stuff. But yeah, so I don't know.
Well, this is a little bit over the halfway point. So go down to the comment section and write poison. Yeah, so we come back from our fourth commercial break, and I thought it was kind of funny where it's like, we follow the Prime Directive when it benefits us.
Pretty much. Hasn't that always been the case, though?
Yes.
I mean, I guess we've never really had. This is first time we've had the Prime Directive, I get, but
No, I know what you mean. Yeah. No, I don't know. It's like yes and no. They try to put a good spin on it, so it's a little different, but it's just like their rationale for a lot of stuff in the episode is also like not that impressive.
the one line though that I do appreciate is that Picard says, like, I don't think Starfleet ever meant the rules to be this strict regarding, like Starfleet came up with those rules, but they never would agree to like,
Right.
well, if it's gonna kill a child, you're just gonna have to let the child die because we made this rule.
Right.
So I like his reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Riker says something too that was good.
Oh, at the end about a rule book.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird, funny scene when he's talking to the two people. Picard is talking to Revan and Leotor, I think is the other guy's name, and he's like, yeah, and he's trying to like understand things, and then he looks over and Deanna's like, Wesley. And he's like, I will speak to the mother about the child at a later time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and then she read it in like a report from the planet side
Yeah.
anyway.
Perfect.
And she's like, he's like, I'm dealing with the situation, nothing to worry about. And she's like, what about the execution? She's like,
Yeah.
you don't even care about my son. He's like, oh, actually, the thing that you don't understand is I love your son.
You have a funny way of showing it, Captain. You have a funny way of showing it.
Oh, to the contrary.
Well,
I'm so hard on him because I love him. I love his stupid face.
That was the thing that made me laugh too, was he was like, I want to tell Beverly in person about Wesley, but I'll be as emotionally distant and dismissive as possible about it.
I know, because he finally goes on board and she's like, hey, so, what are we doing? And he's like, not now, damn it. I was like, I thought you wanted to talk to her in person. And he was like, not now. I don't have time for this.
And then later he's like, we have no time. We have no time.
Yeah. We've run out of time.
like, you're surprised that the lady freaks out at seeing a thing in space.
Yeah.
How fascinating. Like, I could have told you that.
You just brought this indigenous person up onto your spaceship for the first time.
Right.
And you're like, hey, look, is this your God? And she's like, oh my God, it's God. And he's like, geez. And then that entity was like, return my child.
And he's like, "Oh my God, get it back to the planet before he blows us all out of the sky." I was like, "Well, I don't know what you thought was gonna."
Seems like when Data gets incapacitated, everybody makes really bad decisions.
Yeah, apparently. So speaking of that,
Okay.
the lady being on a spaceship for the first time.
Oh yeah, yeah. Please.
This is the first time that I was like, so why are they even having interactions with this planet if
Yes.
if
Yeah.
they are not capable of warp technology?
Yes.
Right? Isn't that the whole thing?
That's the whole thing.
Okay. So yeah, so I was like, why are they even here?
It's a thing where like either they do have warp technology and they just don't use it, or the writers didn't think about that.
Right. They were so much worried about writing an episode about the Prime Directive that they were like, well, we forgot the beginning of the Prime Directive is you must only contact people with
rule
warp
number
technology.
1.
Oh, frick. Yeah, well, this is to make them like all like want to have sex, and everybody will forget about the
Yeah. All the viewers will be like, "Well, oh, sex."
All these nerds will be like, well, they shouldn't even be. Oh,
The other really funny thing is that made no sense was they have no idea what the word police is. No idea. But they understand the word hostage.
yes.
And the other thing that made me laugh was when Reven's like in the room and she's bowing down and clutching herself and freaking out at the sight of her god. And then Deanna's like, nobody will hurt you, I promise. It's like, yeah, a bubble penetrated the ship. When it simply speaks, it shutters the entire Enterprise. It interacted with Data, leaving him incapacitated. But yeah, nothing's going to happen to you. Absolutely nothing.
No, you guys are good. They finally met a match they can't shoot their way out of, you know?
Have you ever heard of a thing called malicious compliance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was what Data does to Picard in the med bay. So Data's going on about like breaking down the laws and everything about like the space, like the space station in orbit. And Picard's like, stop babbling. Like you're going on and on and on and on about nothing. He's like, just give me short answers when I ask you a question. And he's like, and he asks him whatever, and he's like, undecided. And he just sits there.
It was probably unwise of us to attempt to place a human colony in this area. Of course, there are 3,004 other planets in this star cluster in which we could have colonized. The largest and closest...
Data, don't babble.
Babble, sir? I'm not aware that I ever babble, sir. It may be that from time to time I have considerable information to communicate, and you may question the way in which I organize it.
Please, organize it into brief answers to my questions. We have very little time. Do they accept our presence at this planet?
Undecided, sir.
Data, please feel free to volunteer any important information.
Picard's like, okay, listen. Volunteer more information. It's like, it just made me laugh. Like, yeah, oh, you don't want me to say anything? I got it. You got it. You got it.
I did. So I really like their interaction.
It's great. No, it's great.
It's really, really, really good. It's really, really good. He just go, he's going to give you all the information. And it's like, I just love that Picard gets mad. He's like, babble, sir? And then he's like, oh, you know what? I do babble. I do babble. And then so like the other part where he comes into his room.
Oh,
Picard's like, well, let's just have a conversation. He's like, what kind of conversation? A short one?
yeah.
I was just like, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I just thought it was really funny to be like modern day thinking of like malicious compliance, where you're like, absolutely, yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's like Data being sarcastic, basically.
Yes. He's not, because he's an android and he's just following commands. But yeah.
I love that he's giving him all this detail, and Picard's like, "Oh no, I just want like 2-word answers. I'm going to ask you questions. You're going to answer them. Okay? Now, what would happen if this god, if he thought we were breaking his rules?" And he was like, "Probably not good." And he's like, "Any more details?" Like, "No, there's no more detail." Okay. Yeah, because it's like, what do you want? You know,
Yeah,
what do you want me to tell you? He's gonna hold us to the same regard of our laws that we govern ourselves. Like,
right.
he's like, interesting.
Well, that's the part that made me laugh too, was that he seemed unfazed that the entity knows everything that Data knows.
Yeah,
It's like Data knows codes to the ship. He has like secret information, obviously, that like other officers wouldn't have. It's just like he's a
yeah,
robot.
yeah.
He's an android, whatever. It's like
He knows where Earth is.
right, right.
Yeah,
Like he just knows. He's not like a human who may or may not forget things. Like he remembers literally everything.
I feel like they do that in sci-fi a lot, though, where it's like this entity is like reading all, like they do it in Age of Ultron too, where
Oh, uh-huh.
it's like Ultron becomes, aware, and he reads through like all of human history. And based on all of human history, it's like, oh, well, these people they need to be destroyed. So if this entity knows everything Data knows, then yeah, I'd be pretty worried about it.
Yeah. Yes.
Considering that like his planet that they're residing over is like this perfect Garden of Eden planet.
Right, right. Well, it's a perfect time for trivia.
Oh, not again. All right, now you're overacting.
So, writer John D.F. Black used his pseudonym Ralph Willis in the credits because the televised episode bears little resemblance to his original first draft script.
Yeah, that seems like a running theme.
Yep. In John Black's treatment, the colony of Laroff installed punishment zones to fight anarchy. However, the zones are now enforced to abide the law, but for only those who are deemed not immune to them. As Enterprise D security guard Officer Tenson, protecting two children while on shore leave, happens upon a crime scene and is shot dead by the policeman Sewell, who is also killed by his partner Oitap on the spot for misinterpreting his duties. In
Okay.
his first draft, Picard decides not to help the rebels led by Reneg, who fight against the system of council member Trebor. Finally, it turns out the rebels install a similarly totalitarian regime when they gain power. In the second draft, the rebel leader called Reneg is put on trial and executed for treason. Picard muses on the topic of people having their right to decide their own justice without interference.
That sounds pretty horrible, honestly.
Yeah, it's very TOS-y and also bad. This was also the first script to be commissioned for the series after the pilot episode was written, but due to the extensive rewrites it ended up being where it is now, the 8th episode.
Oh.
The Edo exteriors were filmed at the Tillman Water Reclamation Plant in North Los Angeles, and the section of Wesley's Fall at the Huntington Library in Pasadena. And I think I don't think it's a spoiler for you because I think you see it in Enterprise, but the Tillman plant is frequently used as Starfleet Academy and Starfleet headquarters.
Yeah, I can see that.
So there's a scene where Wesley and the girl are talking before he gets the death sentence, and it's like the audio quality kind of changes briefly.
I want to do something too, with you.
What?
It's something you can teach me, will you?
Well, actually, there are some games I don't quite...
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I did notice that. It's like reverbed.
Yeah. And it's because the Tillman plant was right under the flight path of the Van Nuys Municipal Airport, which meant that airplanes were constantly flying over the head of the actors, and the entire scenes filmed there had to be redubbed in post-production.
Gotcha. That's really funny.
Yeah, put in your memory banks. We won't talk about it for an incredibly long time. But the actor, Josh Clark, he's an unnamed tactical officer on the bridge. So you see him in the background. He has kind of like browny red hair. He'll go on to appear again in a different Star Trek show.
Sweet.
Yeah, and I think the last little bit of interesting thing is this is the first time we see Data in the captain's chair when he comes back aboard.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. So that was trivia. And the last couple things I had written was that Picard comforts Beverly practically last minute.
Yeah, basically.
So she's like freaking out the entire time, and then he's like, it's fine. I'm not going to let Wesley die. And she's like, oh, thank you for telling me that, like minutes upon minutes, maybe even hours later.
Yeah, but did she really think, though, that he like ever would, like Picard would just be like, oh well?
Naturally you would think no, because that makes no sense. But at the same time, like, he isn't even giving her an ounce of room where you would, like, maybe coming up to her, and if he had literally said, like, doctor, it's okay, we're going to take care of it, like, I'll talk to you later, Wesley will be okay. That took like 5 seconds. And then he turned back to the woman. She probably wouldn't be as freaking out. But when she comes running up and she's like, I heard that they're going to execute my son. And he's like, we're going to talk about this later. And she's like, what do you mean we're going to talk about it later? He's like, I told you we're talking about it later. Get it? Okay, exactly. And then like walks away. It's like your first gut reaction would be like, is he seriously going to let this happen? And he's going to like try to get me to be on his side about it? Like,
yeah, it was interesting that she was, I don't know. I was surprised that she didn't just know, like, obviously Picard's not going to like allow them to execute her son.
That's because I love him too.
I'm shaking in my boots. You don't understand.
And then the one thing I thought was kind of like that Kirk line in Undiscovered Country, where the female chancellor says to Kirk, like, by you stopping this has restored my faith in what my father saw for us to make peace between the Federation. And he's like, yes. Yeah. And yours for David. And it's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And it was the same thing as when they're telling him that, like, all the Edo people are telling him that, like, if you do this, like, you're screwing with our law systems. Like, you are absolutely messing things up, and, like, death is what's going to happen to us. And he's like, well, that's basically what's going to happen to me because Starfleet takes it so seriously. And it's like, nope, I don't think so. Like,
no, you don't think?
I don't think Starfleet's going to kill him for violating the Prime Directive. They're like, oh, you didn't let the boy die because he crushed some flowers and went in the forbidden zone? You're dead, Captain. You're dead.
How could you?
Our laws are so absolute.
The absolute and perfect. We should have gotten rid of you with the rest of the stinky Frenchmen.
How did you slip through?
Wait a minute. What's your name is Jean-Luc? Oh my God. We thought your name was Picard. Get this Frenchman out of here.
We got him, boys. We got him. The Last Frenchman. That's what the show should be called. Star Trek, The Last Frenchman.
The Last Frenchman.
That's right, everybody. Get us to a couple more subscribers and a couple more public viewing hours, and you can have a t-shirt too that says Star Trek The Last Frenchman.
The Last Frenchman.
As you would hope, this is the end of our review, but before we go, let's do the thing everyone's been waiting for.
Caleb. 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 Caleb.
Okay, who gets the Erica Ortegas Award for being the most unlikable?
I'm gonna go with Wesley this week.
Yeah, I can get behind that because, yeah,
It's specifically just the one scene
I know what you
where
mean. It's stupid. It's really dumb. It's not even Will Wheaton. It's the fact that that character is written so poorly.
it's just the thing where he like destroys this thing.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, "Oh no, what have you
Yep.
done?" And he's like, I'm fine. I didn't even get hurt or anything." And he like takes no, in that scene specifically, he's just like totally like blasé about
Yeah.
destroying that thing. He's like, I'm fine. I didn't get hurt. No worries."
All I could think of is what you're saying, is they're like, "Oh my God, you've fallen into the forbidden zone and you've crushed our new plants." And he's like, "Hey guys, it's okay. I'm all right. It's okay though."
What are you guys all worried about? I didn't even get a bruise.
I mean, my sweater's not even ripped.
My mom would kill me if the sweater got ripped. Can you guys relate? Can you guys relate to any of this stuff? Man, you're gonna get killed for stepping on the flower. You go, "Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one, you guys."
That's a good one.
So we having sex here, or are we having sex back?
I love
Oh,
the cartwheels and handstands. Okay.
Oh my God! Don't. I forgot about that part. Look what I can do. Look what I can do.
Yeah, it would have been better if he did the cartwheel into the thing. That would have been better
Oh man, yeah, that would have been great.
than freaking WWE elbow dropping
Yeah.
into the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Here, toss the ball ahead of me.
No way!
No way! Don't do this! Jim, no! Oh my God! A swanton bomb!
Okay, who gets the Elizabeth Cutler Award for being the most forgettable?
Deanna.
Okay.
She doesn't really do anything in this episode.
She doesn't. She just smirks at everybody wanting sex. That's all. I want it to be maybe what they were writing, but all I could think of was anytime a man or woman touched somebody, like hug them or place their hands on them, you just quick like zoom cuts to Deanna's face, like, she's like, I caught that thought.
Oh, God. She's always kind of there, but she's always like in the background doing nothing,
Yep, I do. It's rough for a bit. Eventually, she's not like this, which is nice. But
Well, that's good.
For a stretch, this is her character.
I like her. I like her as a character.
I mean, she's a great actress, and she's an interesting. It's cool to have like a counselor. I get it. Like it's cool. She has like an actual purpose to go and do things and like talk to the captain. It's great. But
the other thing that irritates me about her character is that she always speaks and like tells them in front of everybody.
Yes.
So like somebody will say something and they're like, "Well, Deanna, what are they doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I feel that they're doing this. They're giving off this." And they're just like standing there like watching them and they're like, "What is she talking about?" When they like go aside and be like, "So, Deanna, do you read anything,
She's like, I'll tell you right here, they're idiots.
Like right in front of them. And it's like, okay, so now they know that you can like sense their emotions. So now they're going to like try not to project bad emotions in front of you. Like, that, right?
Unless she can read them stifling emotions. I don't know. I know
it's just one of those things is like, don't talk in front. It's like having, it's like having an alien species on board the ship on the bridge and like talking to them in front of them about like security issue things.
It was your problem in the episode when they trick the Klingons and they come to the Enterprise, and then the Klingons are coming off the transport, and Scotty comes up to Kirk and he's like, "Well, whatever, like shields are down or we can't move," or he says something to him. He gives like a big security breach of information to Kirk while the Klingon captain is just standing right there. And you were like, well, maybe just wait a minute. It's just wait.
I tell you what, Captain, one more shot and we're toast. If the Klingons knew that, I mean, they wouldn't
Oh,
They would engage. They'd be smart to engage. I mean, we're toast. Like, all right, let's maybe not do that right now.
yeah. Well, speaking of Klingons, what gets the Mugatu Award for being the best alien of the episode?
Yeah, Worf. Yeah.
Yep. I like the concept of the bubble thing, but it just was not that
I've seen it.
interesting. Yeah,
I've
right.
seen it.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. I mean, Kirk and that other Klingon guy, like the whole episode dealt with a floating pink bubble in
Yeah.
space. So
Yes.
I don't care.
Next is the Trip Tucker Award. Who was the MVP of the episode?
Probably Picard.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I
Nice.
mean, he doesn't do anything the whole episode, and then they need him, and he's like, "All right, well, I'll just beam down to the planet and take care of this immediately." And he
Yeah,
beams down, and he's like, "Hey, so we're taking the boy. You're not gonna kill him." And they're like, "Well, that's forbidden." He's like, "Ah, I don't really care." Well, anyway, nice to meet you. I hope you join Starfleet at some point. We got a lot of great laws that we hold tight to all the time.
we have a lot of things to do.
Well, if you excuse us, we got to go break the Prime Directive on some other planet.
If you'll excuse us.
It's pretty funny. That's pretty funny when you think about it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're painfully not wrong, unfortunately.
We got to go to another planet and tell them how their society is completely wrong from ours and make a big, big show of it.
Yeah. Do at least 45 minutes of issue and then we'll leave. Then we'll leave.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, they're like, yeah, but we need to execute Wesley. And he's like, oh, you think that's a new concept for us? One of us is always being on execution row every week. Every week we do this. We're so friggin' bored by this. And that's the other funny thing they kept saying, like, you have the technology. You can just like blow us up and like take Wesley. And he was like, yeah, I could. And I probably will, if I'm being honest.
Oh, you know what they also could have done was had the doctor like analyze the poison and then like, oh, it's phlasmine. And he's like, do we have a cure for that? And she's like, yes. And then just let Wesley get injected. And then just be like, see, he is dead. And then beam him up and then just give him the antidote.
They already did that.
I mean, they're already doing a lot of repeats. So might as well.
Yeah.
This is Spock Award for the best line of the episode.
It's probably the dialogue between Picard
and Data one. Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed that pretty good.
Is it when he says babble?
Yeah. I thought that was good. I don't know.
Good.
There's not any other good line.
No, it's good. That's good. Next is the Shran Award for the best action sequence.
I like when Worf pulls his phaser.
Ooh, nice. I totally forgot about it. That's actually good. I was thinking like when the ship is like
weapon.
Yeah. I was thinking when the ship was getting close, the station was getting close to the Enterprise, he was like, sweet God, get her out of here. Get her out of here. Yeah. No, but yeah, Worf saying drop it now.
And then those, I just love their interaction too. Because those guys, he like drops and he's like so surprised. I thought you came here to be friends.
Oh yeah,
and you won't let us kill this child. What is wrong with your society? Wow. Yeah, wow. And this is after Pike allows that planet to continue to use children for power sources. So you know,
what are you gonna do?
I guess apparently they care about that sort of thing now.
Well, if it's not his child, then it doesn't matter.
That's true.
The next is the NX Award for some sweet ship stuff.
I like that the Doctor has a separate tool for androids.
Yeah. Yeah. I can get behind that.
It reminds me of Fallout, the update with the robot update. You have like stim packs for your robot companion, but it's like a electrical like battery charge thing.
Yes.
Pretty great.
It is cool. Yeah.
So it works like a stim pack, but it's like It's like
like
microfusion cell, and it just like reshocks their central processing.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah. Next is the Porthos Award for the cheesiest thing of the episode.
It's definitely the running. It's
Wow.
definitely the running.
There was no pause on that one.
No, it's really ridiculous. I will say, it was nice to see men objectified as well in this episode.
Yes.
If there's any sort of...
Yeah. I think, honestly, I think if this was like a modern Star Trek show, I almost wonder if like how little they could now have these people dressed.
I don't think you could. Well, I mean, less than this would be pretty hard to match.
I agree,
honestly.
But I almost wonder if you just film people from the back and like never you film them from like the shoulders up.
Yeah.
And, like the back, and they're just naked. It would be weird to bring a child down, but it was weird to bring a child down this time too. So.
But yeah, they did it now. So like, I just was thinking, like, if this was TOS, the men would be wearing like full like boiler suits on this planet,
true.
and the women would be wearing the same thing they wore now.
They'd have exactly the same thing, but this time their belly buttons would be covered.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you couldn't show belly buttons back then.
Heinous.
Disgusting. We don't want to see where you fed from your mother.
Well, here we are. Next is the Enterprise Award for the best scene of the episode.
You know what scene, Will, I really enjoy?
Yeah.
Is the scene where Picard and Data are talking about babbling.
That's a great scene.
That's a great scene. Yeah. Some would even argue that it's the best scene of the episode.
Some just might.
Some lunatic out there might.
Well, you'll have to let us know in the comment section below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you want more of it? Did this episode do justice for Star Trek? No.
Nobody got justice in this episode either. That's the other funny thing.
Justice.
Swear to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Next time on Star Trek.
But now, next week's episode will be episode 9 of Star Trek The Next Generation. And that episode is entitled The Battle.
That episode, of course, is called The Last Frenchman.
It just might be. So, as always, if you like the video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. Share it with all your friends and family and Trek enthusiasts. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and ring that bell for notifications so you don't miss it when it comes out. Also, after this video ends, go over to Caleb's channel. Caleb has a prop channel. He makes a lot of fun, cool things on the channel. And I believe yesterday, if you enjoy us podcasting about television shows, make sure you definitely go over to Caleb's channel because another Dragon Ball episode dropped.
Absolutely.
So go over there and give him a comment, give him a subscribe, give him a suggestion. You decide.
Yeah, we covered the first chunk of the last season of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost done.
Piccolo Jr. saga.
Yeah. We're about to finish it, so you got to get over there and watch it. So thanks for doing all the fun things below. Thanks for doing all that. We really appreciate it. If you want fun things like things that say the Retrek review on them, make sure to go over to our Patreon where you can get little monthly gifts and rewards for being a member. And just like that, computer and program. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye. I'm logging off. We're fading into oblivion.